Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel and welcome to day 30. Day 30 of the 100-day project. Part of me is shocked and amazed that it's day 30. And another part of me thinks, oh yeah, I felt every one of those days, every one of those videos. You know, the times that they needed 2 or 3 takes. But we carry on because this continues to be fun. And I hope you're being either entertained or informed by the videos that you are watching. Now, if you look at this desktop and think, she's got everything but the kitchen sink here, you would be correct. I have had this paint deck from Benjamin Moore for some time. And I, excuse me, I did look on YouTube earlier today, wondering if there were any videos out there using paint chips. And one, I didn't look that hard or long, and one came up and it was for using paint chips that are those bigger, wider ones, about yay big. And I made a note of her name. Did I lose that paper? Sorry guys, I thought I was ready. Oh, Rosemary Morris, the Rusty Peacock. So I have subscribed to her as of today. Anyway, this, the thing that I obviously have the most of is a deck like this. Now this is big, it's long. When I rip a piece out, it is 3, 6, 9. Well, if you don't count this part, it's I think just about over 9 inches. 6, 9, yeah, about approximately 9 inches. So I thought, well, I can't come on here with one crummy idea. How is that going to work? So I pulled out a bunch of things, but let's begin at the beginning. The first thing I did was I cut, this is probably, oh yeah, I cut down 2 of those and sewed them like little pockets. And okay, this is the one I did first, and then, well, I don't know what possessed me. I'd never checked the stitch length, so this is a hot mess. Then I tried a longer stitch and then a longer one yet. So this will become a prototype that will go into, you know, a sample book or something as a reminder. Then I thought, well, this is rather deep, considering how shallow, how narrow it is rather deep. So, just for the heck of it, I thought, well, let me find, and I couldn't lay my hands on tickets, even though I have probably 4,000 of them. And I'm talking like tickets off a ticket roll. But I do have these coat room checks, and they fit in there quite nicely. And, you know, pink and blue, that's totally fine. And again, this is just a demo. So I didn't glue the edges or anything to begin with. I just, I figured I can't afford to lose any of the width. And these things are, excuse me, 2 inches wide. So then the next ones I made shorter. They're only 2 swatches high, so they are, well, a little over 2.5 inches tall. So, okay, let's use this again. Now, because the you know, this is fairly thick, it is, you know, it does take a little bit of effort to open it. So what I thought I would do, and because I didn't think of doing it ahead of time, I'm going to add a notch. And unless I try my little one, but then what point is that? It's so tiny. Let's try on this boo-booed one. Oh, I guess I can get it in there. I'm going to just, yeah, this is the better looking side. It's a trick getting it in there, but that, you know, that looks cute. Let's see if on these, okay, this is the front on this one. Let's see if I can get this down any further. It wants to sort of spring back a bit. Yeah, that definitely helps identify what this is. I think on this one, I'm just going to do a double notch. I mean, it'll be on both sides, and a bigger one. Okay, so there are those. So hopefully as I go through some of these ideas, I can get some of the mess off the table. So then I thought to myself, okay, and of course these can be decorated, and maybe we'll have time to do that. I then took one swatch and I cut all the colors apart. And I believe, well, everything except that bottom one has the little kind of white separator stripe, but yet they all end up being the same size. So what I thought would be good here is to put a brad in the corner and make a little thingamajig that sort of fans out like so. Now, I didn't drag my brads over here. I could have, I suppose, but I kind of just, you know, went through them to see some of the ones that I thought would be okay. So this has shades of, I don't know if that's navy or, anyway, I thought, oh, that reads as blue. This is like, it almost feels like leather. I doubt that it is, but anyway. This is a diaper pin, which I don't know, would we care about that? And then this is one of those vintage, I don't know, does anybody still use them? I don't know. These are those vintage office brads. And this one, I would say those legs are, well, a good 3/4 of an inch. Now, that might be overkill. This one is the shortest, and I think the proportions are way too big. The diaper pin, as cute as that might be, I don't know, people think that's weird. Again, it's my prototype, so I can do that. And this one, you can see by holding it like so that this too would catch all of those things and still be operable. So I think what I'm going to do, because that is going to need a fairly big hole, is use my Big Shot, Crocodile. I'm going to use the 1/8 inch hole. I'm going to trust that I can hold this steady until I get through them all. Kind of have them lined up and nice and tight. Getting away a bit from the corner. Wait, is that a good idea? If I want this to be able to turn, I'm wondering if that's going to interfere. Maybe I should play it safe and use the round one. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I can try the pin. If it doesn't work, I have a fallback. Okay, so let's try that one. I hope you can't hear that I'm also doing laundry. I've got the door closed. That is the universal signal for, hey, I'm doing a video. Do not come and talk to me. Now, that seems, I would either cover, well, I would trim it because it clearly extends past there. But let's just see. Yeah, the pin works. So that's kind of a little talking point. So what I'll do after the fact, or maybe where's my little little screwdriver? I just want to press down. It seems to me that, you know, I just sort of used finger pressure on there and didn't get it down as tight as it might be. So it seems a bit loose to me. So that is better. But does that defeat the purpose? No, it's still... Okay, good. And then with wire cutters, which I still haven't put away from something earlier today, I'm just going to cut the end off. Now, the disadvantage to me doing that is that that is a bit of a sharper edge than, you know, sort of the factory edge is kind of rounded. So that would probably need, I should take a hair off, more off this one, because it's still almost extending past the edge of the, so yes, I would cover this with, probably with washi tape. So that's a second idea. As I was looking for things to decorate with, came across this tiny little, obviously an envelope template from some digital kit. And because there's some blue on there, this obviously would be kind of cute as well to tuck into a pocket or whatever. Now, let me just maybe walk you through some of, I was going to say, let me walk you through some of what I have here, but let's maybe figure out why I brought these things out. So I cut off the, this branding thing here, and the thing that holds it in that post closure. So it seems to me I trimmed these down to 3, 6, 7, 8. Well, not quite 8. Almost 8. Excuse me. So when I see something long and narrow like this, I think, oh, belly band, side tuck, bookmark. So those, of course, could be any of the projects to use with something kind of this long, because it would, in most journals, I remember to bring my little prototypical thing here. Now this book is taller, but you can see that it could, we have a shorter page, maybe not, but you know, I could have left that end on and had another inch or so to work with, but naturally you would trim it down to whatever size would work in your book. Now on something like this where there's a fold over, this could also be glued on, would help reinforce the thing and be kind of a border decoration at the same time. Okay, so what do I have here? Well, like I say, I pulled everything out. You can see my box of stamps, and these tend to be, like, I have a million stamps, and I have sets of them in my Etsy that are divided. They're in 100 stamp assortments, and they are color grouped by color. So if I were to choose a stamp, I would, probably be, knowing the way I usually do things, I would be looking for, look at the size of that. I would be looking probably for some blues. So, there are lots of choices there. Also in here, where did it fall to, are some digitals that I just, now, did I need more stamps? Of course not. But I wanted to support the shop. It's Yana's Crafting, YANAS Crafting. Found out that, I suspected, and then I asked, and of course she confirmed. She's a fellow Ukrainian and is living in the Netherlands right now because of what is going on in Ukraine, but is safe and sound there, so that's the good news. Anyway, I ordered several of these, and they're basically just a one-page kit. I sort of, before I turn on the camera, pulled out a few that could work, again, because of the blues. So, did I mix them up? This one is too wide. But, there are options. There are several bird ones that would do. That could work. There's a peacock. So whether you've got real stamps or digital stamps, or, want to combine the two of them, stamps are definitely something to consider. They're tiny little pieces of art. I don't know if I've ever said it, but once when I was in Ottawa, which of course is where our National Museum is, my daughter and I went through the museum, and there was one of the, and I don't know if it's permanent or if it was a temporary thing, but there was one exhibit that was exclusively Canadian postage stamps. So there were hundreds on display. And as you can imagine, they don't take up much wall space, but they had them in these multiple rows, like several rows high. And as long as the room was, and it's just amazing. There are some I had never seen. And I thought to myself, actually artists submit proposals and get selected or not to have their design incorporated or turned into a stamp. So, of course it is. Oh, here are the ones I put aside. There are, talk about an honor, and the fact is that it's real art. So here are some others that I thought might be kind of cool. And again, look at some of this. Look at the size of this. It's almost too big. Anyway, so there are things like this that a person can use to decorate. Another thing that I pulled out were these. This was a digital. I printed it on sort of a buff colored cardstock, and then I didn't have a postage stamp scissor, fancy scissor, but I used, I doubt it's here because I don't have room to store everything beside me, but I used something like this to replicate sort of that cut edge. So pretend we were decorating a pocket. Those violets would look lovely on there, especially if they were right side up. If you can't tell, yeah, there are the stems. That's like a little posy. And again, my impulse is to go with things that match, but we also know that blue and yellow are a thing, as are blue and orange. So these are in the running here as well for some decorating elements. I also pulled out my Blueprint Sketch ink, simply because, you know, this paint deck has been used. So some of the edges you probably can see are a bit, they're starting to show a bit of white. So now naturally, if a person, I don't have that much blue ink to be honest, but no matter what color I would have picked, it's only going to match, you know, a couple of the swatches, and in other areas it will be, you know, more visible. So as long as you're okay with that, inking it is a good technique if you're into inking. I'm thinking I don't need this little white strip here. So that was just a reminder to tell you that. I also pulled out my little fabric butterflies, and I know you've probably seen them lately. Again, choosing yellow works. The blue would work, and again, you probably, it depends the look you're going for. If you want contrast, then you do it one way. If you want them to be more subtle and blend in, you'd pick another part, another swatch. So there's that. I also pulled out, oh, maybe I don't have anything to show you here. I think these were, oh, this was like a little, I think this was intended like a little office organizer. There are 9 of these little drawers, so they're good storage for, and they've got the plate in front to be able to label them. But this one is kind of velvet lined, and I have 2 of these, 2 different formats. I believe that they were intended as jewelry boxes, and that's why they're velvet lined. And, you know, you'd put your beads and so on in something as deep as this. And then some are shallower. Maybe that's where you keep your diamond rings. So in here are washi stickers. Now, are not stickers, I guess they're, or maybe they are. You can tell I haven't used any of these very much, or maybe ever. These tend to probably be a bit big. But in an effort to get some of the stuff off my desk, some of these little things that I picked up, okay, so this is like vellum. These things that I picked up in that Temu order, I've now put all together here in this one little drawer because they are similar. I didn't even look through this to see if there was something that would work. This is the one with the fairies and a few flowers. This was another sort of sticker idea that also came from Temu. I don't know if these are really my favorite, and I did fussy cut around them to reduce the amount of white space. You know, again, and sometimes I think after we've purchased these things, you know, sometimes we don't use things because we love them too much and we're kind of hoarding. But I think sometimes we don't use things too much because maybe they're a bit of a disappointment. And we don't use them because maybe they're not our favorite. You know, that could work there. And maybe I'll just leave it there as a reminder to use it. This one has a bit of blue on it. There's more to love. Now this feels like it wouldn't be enough on here, so I would probably look for another element. But just like that, 2 of them would be gone. That dryer of mine, it's, can't remember, I think Maytag. Anyway, it will, if you don't quickly get the stuff out of the dryer while when the timer goes off, it will just every so often, I've never timed how often, it will, activate itself again. So I guess so things stop from creasing, stop things from creasing. So these are vellum. They're not stickers, but they have sort of little botanicals on them. So again, I didn't pre-select anything. I guess part of, well, here's some violets. Part of what I'm trying to point out here is that there are so many things that we all have that are at our disposal that it's just a matter of maybe getting out of one's comfort zone and selecting something that either you've been holding on to for too long, and again, I'm just randomly showing you some things. If I was in fact doing this for some specific purpose, I would probably be a little more thoughtful about, is there a relationship between this and this and this in case several of these items ended up in the same project. Because, maybe just randomly throwing in a little paint chip pocket is kind of maybe a little too random. So you probably want a second, paint chip piece in a book. So I'll stop doing that. Another thing that I have pulled out are these little paper pads, and I know that I've shown them before, and you've probably seen them. Oh, this was probably supposed to be part of that pile. I'll have to add it. Are these little paper blocks. They're 100 sheets, 20 patterns, so 5 of each, and Dollarama, $1.25. So if I wanted again to have a blue tie-in, I could pick up a paper out of here. Maybe this goes with this. So that there seems to be some rhyme or reason to what a person is doing. Although in the back of my mind, I do think that one of these days I'm just going to have to go totally, what is the word? Eclectic. When people do, throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at a project, not really worrying about a color theme, not worrying about a subject theme, just grabbing anything within reach. This is another possibility. So that's why I pulled these out. Again, to remember that I have them and to, in fact, use them. Now, I don't know if you have the same quandary that I do, which is I tend to need to see things in front of me to have ideas come to me and to remember to use what I have. But there is a lot of, here are other ones that I cut off. I could add these to there as well. It adds to the visual noise and maybe a little bit of angst making to have everything out all the time. So that is something to keep in mind. I know that if I can contain things, it's a more calming room to work in. But then, my goodness, you have to deliberately force yourself to look for things. Otherwise, again, out the window. I'm sure that most of us have many little boxes, dishes, ceramics, whatever, little containers, kicking around that we throw odds and ends into just to get them off our desk. So I was looking at this thing that has everything from a scrap of pattern paper. Here's a sticker that I put in earlier. This and this are chipboard pieces that I have peeled back to get some of the layers off and get some of the thickness, to remove some of the thickness. So those things, hey, maybe this die cut, oh, looky there. Isn't Paris the city of love? There is more to love. So sometimes just going through some of the, I have these chipboard buttons that could also end up there. I didn't have a stash tea tag that worked, unless I throw that there. And you see how one thing leads to another, to another, to another. Plus these little, who knows? Don't even ask. So I was then looking through some scrap paper, scraps of paper. So this is part of a digital that I obviously ripped into smaller pieces, probably for collage or whatnot. So this could find its way on there because of that dark blue. And of course, the minute you have something like that on there, you've introduced all these other possibilities. Maybe this isn't quite the same orangey color, but you can see how one thing leads to another. This is one of my digitals, and these, I hope you would have seen that video. Now this ink that I've used here, I wonder which one it is. Peacock feathers, perhaps? Is not an exact match to any of these blues. But again, maybe we don't care about that. So, fussy cutting around some of these images could also be part of the decoration there. And then I may have shown you this thing. Again, one of those, this was an Amazon purchase, but, kind of a bit on the weird side, because anything that has, well, not anything, some of the things that are sentiments or that involve words are just, cockeyed. I mean, not cockeyed isn't the right word, but see, something like this would be cute. Maybe I should cut that one out. Not a kitten person, but those flowers match. Anyway, so I'm thinking this is one of those things that maybe wasn't the greatest idea ever, especially when it comes to the words, but that doesn't mean that I can't use, is that love lead? Love lead? What the heck is that? You know what genius is? Sorry, I just about have to stand on my head to cut this. So hopefully I can get this girl out without, and again, I know that in the past, and hopefully you haven't had the same affliction. In the past, I always thought all of this stuff has to make sense. And then when I see that people put hats and crowns and goodness knows what on animals, talking to you, Barbara from 49 Dragonflies, and wings on people, wings on just really unusual things. I'm thinking, well, of course, anything goes. Why would I think otherwise? So I haven't totally drunk the Kool-Aid on that, but I am trying to be a bit more daring. So let's see if I can find a second one, then I'll put this aside. How about some chocolate? And, because I'm quickly cutting these things out, it does mean that there's a far better chance that it will actually get used. Because what am I going to do? Move it around? So if a bunch of us were in a room and we were all doing this same thing, we were all given some paint chips and we all had to do something, everyone's project would be different. Everyone's looking at that. Saturn, a pair of lips, cherry lips, like the rings around the plant, like, I don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, what I was saying is we would all end up with different things. Even if we were all given the same materials to work with. Just because people's minds and aesthetic is different, and that's a good thing. Otherwise, we're just clones, which is not good. So another thing that I noticed is once when I ended up getting a whole bunch of those little Stampin' Up! Ink things, the 1-inch size. So I was trying them out to see, well, how many of these are good, how many are dry. So I just randomly stamped these dragonflies all over everything. So I could fussy tear around some of these and use them as well. Excuse me. You may have seen this in a recent 100-day project. So in here are some of the little bits and pieces of either, well, I guess it could be anything from deli paper to wax paper to tissue paper. So again, I'm sort of gravitating. Oh, this is nice. To the ones that have a bit of blue in them. That has there's an appeal to that. So again, to put all these things together will result in something gorgeous and something uniquely you. This one almost looks like leather, but the reason I pulled it out is because I wanted to see. Now this is quite a yellow pattern paper. Oh, one thing that I didn't pull out, but would also qualify here, is napkin paper. Although, no, let me strike that. You and I would probably be disappointed in the results because the darker the background that you're adhering napkin to, the poorer the result. The less Whoops. My house of cards is collapsing here, guys. The less of the actual design you'll see. There's some blue-green going on, so that's nice. I might have to come up with a project using some of these jelly prints. Make a note of that. I don't know who I'm telling that to, since I'm the only one here who's... Okay, this is something I obviously stamped. Whoops. Back to this. You can see how, without really trying, this has all sort of come together. And because there's so many pieces here, it would probably lend itself to one of these bigger pieces here. Like, I wouldn't want to try to use it on one of the small pockets because there wouldn't be very much opportunity to use that. Let me have a look at the time and see if I should begin. Oh, we're at the 41-minute mark. Let's just see how far we can get with this, knowing that, oops, that it won't be done. I think I'm going to pick this one because it's more like periwinkle. So I'm going to sometimes I purposely tear things this way to expose a white edge. Whoops, I'm doing it wrong now. So I can put, I don't have my, let me just protect my surface a bit with this thing. Okay. Okay, oh, there it is. I was going to say, did you guys see where that went? Now this, to me, that by itself is not enough. So what I would do is tear another thing so I would have it in a second or third place. So maybe I won't take the time to glue this stuff down, but we'll just give you an idea of how this could work. And probably it won't all be able to be used either. Okay, now this wood could. This is kind of next biggest in size, but it also is virtually transparent. So it's going to, it'll create a nice, you don't want to totally cut the Q off. Maybe it has to go this way. And of course the edges would be trimmed. Now, where's my pokey? I did want to use this and this. Although that Eiffel Tower is not exactly exactly the right color. Okay. You can see how this becomes, you know, as Rachel would say, audition time. This could go underneath and it would still, well, might obscure the writing, so. And let me just see, I noticed on one of the videos that I did today that I wasn't exactly, that I came very close to not being in position at all, which kind of felt like such a rookie mistake. I just want to see what the deal is here. Yes, it is a sticker. So for the time being, I'll just get rid of the white so that I can visualize what it would look like. Oops. Quickly cut around this. I hope that the light is adequate. It's a fairly bright day. I didn't turn on the desk light. Oh, and I actually have now a third lamp, and of course none of them are professional. Oh, well, one is a ring light. The others are, well, one is actually a floor lamp for reading, you know, at a chair. Back in the day when a person sat in a chair and read. And the other one is an LED desk lamp. Yeah, I like this because it's kind of irregular. Let me yet quickly do this gal. And maybe we'll have time to actually glue something down. Okay. Trying to see what you can see. Okay. Honestly, I'm surprised that you have never, well, you wouldn't have seen it, but probably heard an avalanche of, oh, I had also pulled these on. An avalanche of craft supplies come crashing down, because that, of course, is the challenge here, to have things within reach. I'm just going to position these two pieces, and because you have to begin somewhere. And I see them as a bottom layer. I'm also going to put it as low on the card as I can get it. This is kind of a weirder shape. I'll tear this way. Yeah, that dryer keeps turning things over. This is now The straight edges butting up against the top. I think the chocolate thing might be, no, it is the biggest, but or maybe I should forget this love thing. Just do something like that. But then that is right above her head. Okay. If we pull this down, it can be up here. Whoops, that's sticking to my fingers. I can also get rid of this part here, which was kind of poor stamping. I can also shave this down a bit. Okay, let me put the chocolate thing down. Let me have this. Oh, almost forgot that she's a sticker. I'm just going to reinforce her with some glue. Because how else will I get my hands all glued if I don't do this? Then, oh, and I have these little bits of, well, let's not confuse matters. If that goes on first, then that can go a bit over, but is it better? Might be better to do it that way. Okay, so unique goes next. I think this should be okay if I glue this. Very gently. I guess it would have been better if I'd have had that. Well, mind you, it blends. I was going to say if I had that girl over a bit, then I wouldn't have to have this touching her hat. But that's okay. And the nice thing about that tissue is that it virtually disappears. A part of that dot will be gone, but that's okay. Nice. And then I said that, mind you. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. Anyway, I hope that today's video has encouraged you to not run screaming from the room if you see paint chips and don't know what to do with them. I will remind you that I have a playlist of, I want to get this straight. I have a playlist of 100-day video projects. I will link that, what did I say, Rusty Peacock site so that you can see that lady's video using the bigger paint chips. And I guess whether this becomes if this were to become a bookmark instead of a side tuck or a belly band, then, you know, I might end up punching a hole in the top and adding some ribbon or something, fabric from it. I think that's kind of cool. Didn't get very much decorating done, but again, that wasn't my primary purpose. We've all seen people glue stuff down. And hopefully I'm not wrong, I think that maybe sometimes the thought process and the rationale for doing things the way a person does them is more valuable than watching glue dry. I hope I'm right about that. Anyway, wrong color. I will stop here. I will encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I will be back again tomorrow, and I will remind you, I don't even know what day this is going to be scheduled for, but I will remind you of my other series, which is What's on My Bookcase. So I've pre-taped a couple of those episodes to get me past the Easter weekend and the little family thing that we're going to be doing. So happy crafting. Thanks for watching, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye.